Deep in the heart of a forgotten valley, archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary, a hidden chamber filled with symbols and artifacts that defied explanation. This wasn't just another ancient site. It was a window into a world where spirituality and survival intertwined in ways we're only beginning to understand. What drove our ancestors to create such intricate rituals, shrouded in mystery and steeped in symbolism? These practices didn't just shape their world, they laid the foundation for art, culture, and even the way we think about power and connection today. From the sacred fires of Mesopotamia to the shadowy rites of the Mayans, ritual mysticism has left an indelible mark on human history. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover 20 astonishing origins of these ancient practices, tracing their evolution across civilizations and revealing how they've shaped the very fabric of our existence. This isn't just a history lesson, it's a journey into the minds of our ancestors, a chance to decode the secrets they left behind. So, are you ready to step into the unknown and explore the mysteries that have captivated humanity for millennia? Let's begin. Picture this: tens of thousands of years ago, deep within the shadowy recesses of a prehistoric cave, a small group of early humans gathered around flickering firelight. On the walls around them, vivid images of bison, horses, and abstract symbols danced in the dim glow. This wasn't just art for art's sake, it was something far more profound. Sites like Lascaux and Chauvet, with their breathtaking cave paintings, offer us a glimpse into the earliest known rituals of humanity. These ancient spaces weren't mere shelters, they were sacred grounds where the physical and spiritual worlds converged. What drove these early humans to create such intricate works in the most remote corners of the earth? Some researchers believe these paintings were more than decorations. They were attempts to communicate with forces beyond human understanding. Imagine standing in these caves, the air thick with the scent of smoke and the weight of the unknown pressing down. For our ancestors, these images may have been a way to connect with the spirits of the animals they hunted, to seek their favor, or even to ensure their survival in a harsh and unpredictable world. Theories suggest that these early rituals were deeply tied to the natural environment. By depicting animals and symbols, early humans might have been trying to exert control over the forces that governed their lives: fertility, weather, or the success of the hunt. The act of painting itself could have been a ritual, a way to channel their fears and hopes into something tangible. Over time, these practices evolved, becoming more structured and symbolic, laying the groundwork for the mystical traditions that would follow. Experts point out that the very act of entering these caves, often difficult and dangerous, may have been part of the ritual. The journey into the darkness, the act of creating art in such an inhospitable place, it all speaks to a deep, primal need to connect with something greater than themselves. And as we'll see, this need didn't disappear with the passage of time. Instead, it transformed, taking on new forms and meanings as human societies grew more complex. These early rituals, born in the depths of prehistoric caves, were the first steps on a long and winding path. They remind us that the desire to understand the mysteries of existence is as old as humanity itself. And as we move forward, we'll see how these ancient practices began to shape the spiritual and cultural landscapes of the civilizations that followed. As the flickering firelight of prehistoric caves gave way to the sprawling landscapes of hunter-gatherer societies, a new figure emerged, one who could traverse the boundaries between the seen and the unseen. This was the shaman, a spiritual guide whose role would shape the very fabric of early human communities. Shamanism, one of the earliest known forms of ritual mysticism, was more than just a practice. It was a way of life, a bridge between the physical world and the mysterious forces that governed it. In the vast, icy tundras of Siberia, shamans were revered as healers, seers, and mediators. They entered trance states, often induced by rhythmic drumming or the use of hallucinogenic plants, to communicate with spirits. These altered states of consciousness allowed them to journey into realms beyond ordinary perception, seeking wisdom, guidance, and healing for their people. The shaman's ability to navigate these spiritual landscapes wasn't just a personal skill, it was a communal lifeline. In a world where survival depended on understanding the whims of nature, the shaman's insights could mean the difference between life and death. Across the globe, in the dense forests and open plains of the Americas, Native American shamans played a similar role. They used rituals, chants, and sacred plants like peyote to connect with the spirit world. These practices weren't just about individual enlightenment, they were deeply tied to the community's well-being. Shamans helped maintain balance between humans and nature, between the living and the dead, and within the tribe itself. Their ceremonies often revolved around hunting, healing, and seasonal changes, reinforcing the interconnectedness of all life. What made shamanism so enduring was its adaptability. It wasn't confined to a single culture or region. It was a universal response to the human need for meaning and connection. Shamans didn't just interpret the world, they transformed it. Through their rituals, they shaped communal identity, teaching their people how to live in harmony with the forces around them. Their practices laid the groundwork for survival strategies, from predicting weather patterns to ensuring successful hunts. Yet, as human societies grew more complex, the role of the shaman began to evolve. The intimate, community-centered practices of shamanism gradually gave way to more structured forms of spirituality. Organized religion, with its hierarchies and codified rituals, began to take root, but the legacy of shamanism endured, woven into the very fabric of these new traditions. From the ecstatic rites of ancient Greece to the mystical ceremonies of early Christianity, the echoes of shamanic practices can still be heard. This shift marks a pivotal moment in the history of ritual mysticism. It wasn't just a change in how humans related to the divine, it was a transformation in how they understood themselves and their place in the world. As we move forward, we'll explore how these early spiritual practices evolved into the organized religions that would come to dominate human history. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the profound impact of shamanism, a tradition that reminds us of our enduring quest to connect with something greater than ourselves. As humanity transitioned from nomadic hunter-gatherer societies to settled agricultural communities, a profound shift occurred, one that would forever alter the course of ritual mysticism. The agricultural revolution, beginning around 10,000 years ago, didn't just change how humans lived, it transformed how they worshipped. With their survival now tied to the fertility of the land, early farmers turned their attention to rituals designed to ensure bountiful harvests and the prosperity of their communities. In the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, people began to revere the earth as a life-giving force. Goddesses like Inanna in Sumerian culture and Ishtar in Babylonian traditions became central figures in these early agricultural societies. These deities symbolized fertility, not just of the soil, but of life itself. Their worship often involved elaborate ceremonies, offerings, and symbolic acts meant to honor and appease them. Archaeologists have uncovered countless artifacts from this era, statuettes of voluptuous female figures, phallic symbols, and carvings depicting scenes of abundance, all pointing to a deep-seated belief in the power of fertility rituals. One of the most striking examples comes from Satalhur-Yuk, a Neolithic settlement in modern-day Turkey. Here, excavations have revealed a society where fertility rites were woven into the fabric of daily life. Homes were adorned with bull horns and plastered reliefs of goddesses, suggesting that the sacred and the mundane were deeply intertwined. At Satalhur Yuk, the act of planting seeds wasn't just a practical task, it was a spiritual one, accompanied by rituals aimed at invoking the blessings of the earth. These early farmers saw the land as a living, breathing entity, capable of both generosity and wrath. To them, a successful harvest wasn't just a matter of luck or skill, it was a divine gift. Fertility rituals became a way to maintain harmony with the natural world, a way to ensure that the cycle of life continued uninterrupted. Offerings of grain, milk, and even blood were common, symbolizing a reciprocal relationship between humans and the earth. Over time, these practices began to evolve, becoming more formalized and integrated into larger religious systems. The simple act of planting a seed grew into elaborate festivals celebrating the changing seasons, such as the ancient Greek Thesmophoria or the Roman Cerealia. These events weren't just about agriculture, they were about community, identity, and the shared belief in the interconnectedness of all life. The shift from fertility rituals to organized religion marked a turning point in human history. As societies grew more complex, so too did their spiritual practices. Yet at their core, these new systems retained the essence of those early agricultural rites, a reverence for the cycles of nature, and a desire to maintain balance with the forces that sustained them. This evolution reminds us that our ancestors' relationship with the land was more than just practical. It was profoundly spiritual. As we move forward, we'll see how these early beliefs laid the foundation for the world's great religious traditions, shaping the way humanity understands its place in the cosmos. But for now, let's pause to reflect on the enduring legacy of fertility rituals, a testament to our ancestors' ingenuity and their deep connection to the earth. As societies grew more complex, so too did their understanding of the spiritual world, and nowhere is this more evident than in the rise of ancestor worship. This practice, which emerged in some of the earliest civilizations, reveals a profound shift in how humans related to the past, present, and future. For the Egyptians and the Chinese, ancestors weren't just remembered, they were revered as powerful beings who could influence the lives of the living. In ancient Egypt, the concept of ancestor worship was deeply intertwined with their beliefs about the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that the soul, or Ka, required sustenance even after death. To ensure their ancestors' well-being, they constructed elaborate tombs filled with food, jewelry, and other offerings. The Book of the Dead, a collection of spells and prayers, was often placed in tombs to guide the deceased through the perilous journey to the afterlife. These rituals weren't just about honoring the dead, they were about maintaining a connection between the living and the departed. The Egyptians believed that ancestors could intercede on behalf of their descendants, offering protection and guidance from beyond the grave. Similarly, in ancient China, ancestor worship was a cornerstone of familial and societal harmony. The Chinese believed that the spirits of their forebears remained active participants in the lives of their descendants. To honor them, families built ancestral shrines and performed regular ceremonies, offering food, wine, and incense. These rituals were seen as a way to ensure the ancestors' favor, which was believed to bring prosperity and stability to the family. The practice also reinforced social hierarchies, as respect for elders and ancestors was seen as a moral duty, a way to uphold the Confucian values of filial piety and loyalty. What's fascinating is how these practices evolved over time. In both cultures, ancestor worship wasn't static. It adapted to reflect changing societal values. For the Egyptians, the emphasis on elaborate tombs and offerings eventually gave rise to the concept of divine kingship. Pharaohs, seen as living gods, were believed to be direct descendants of the deities themselves. This idea of rulers as divine intermediaries between the human and spiritual worlds was a natural progression from the earlier practices of ancestor worship. Similarly, in China, the veneration of ancestors became a way to legitimize political power. Emperors claimed divine ancestry, linking their rule to the approval of the gods and the spirits of their forebears. This connection between ancestor worship and political authority highlights how spiritual practices often serve dual purposes, maintaining social order while also reinforcing cultural identity. Ancestor worship reminds us that the past is never truly gone. For these ancient societies, honoring their forebears was a way to ensure continuity, to bridge the gap between generations, and to find meaning in the cycles of life and death. As we move forward, we'll see how these practices laid the groundwork for even more complex systems of belief, including the rise of divine kingship and theocratic rule. But for now, let's pause and reflect on the enduring power of these ancient rituals, a testament to humanity's timeless need to honor those who came before us. In the fertile plains of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers carved out a cradle of civilization, a powerful concept began to take root, one that would forever change the relationship between rulers and the divine. Divine kingship emerged as a cornerstone of Mesopotamian society, blending the spiritual and the political into a single, unifying force. Kings in this ancient land didn't merely rule over their people, they claimed to be chosen by the gods themselves, their authority divinely ordained and unassailable. At the heart of this system were the towering ziggurats, massive temple complexes that served as both religious and political centers. These structures weren't just architectural marvels, they were symbols of the king's special connection to the gods. Priests acting as intermediaries performed elaborate rituals within these temples, ensuring the gods' favor and reinforcing the king's divine mandate. The king, in turn, was seen as the earthly representative of the gods, tasked with maintaining order and prosperity. This symbiotic relationship between temples, priests, and kings created a tightly woven social fabric, where religion and governance were inseparable. One of the most enduring reflections of these beliefs is found in the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known works of literature. Gilgamesh, the legendary king of Uruk, is portrayed as two-thirds god and one-third human, a figure who embodies the tension between mortality and divinity. His quest for immortality speaks to the Mesopotamian belief in the divine nature of kingship, while also highlighting the inherent limitations of human power. The epic wasn't just a tale of heroism, it was a cultural narrative that reinforced the idea that kings were both extraordinary and fallible, bridging the gap between the heavens and the earth. Divine kingship didn't just legitimize the ruler's authority, it shaped the very structure of Mesopotamian society. Laws, such as those codified by Hammurabi, were presented as divinely inspired, further solidifying the king's role as a mediator between the gods and the people. These laws weren't just practical guidelines, they were sacred texts reflecting the belief that justice itself was a divine gift. But the influence of Mesopotamian divine kingship didn't stop at its borders. This powerful idea spread to neighboring regions, shaping the political and religious systems of ancient Egypt, the Hittites, and even early Greek city-states. In each of these cultures, rulers adopted the concept of divine favor, using it to bolster their authority and unify their people. The pharaohs of Egypt, for example, were seen as living gods, their rule an extension of the divine will. This widespread adoption of divine kingship underscores its enduring appeal. It wasn't just a tool for political control, it was a way to make sense of the world, to create order out of chaos, and to connect the human realm with the divine. As we move forward, we'll see how these ideas continued to evolve, influencing the spiritual and political landscapes of civilizations across the globe. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the profound legacy of Mesopotamian divine kingship, a system that reminds us of humanity's timeless quest to find meaning in the mysteries of power and the divine. In the sun-baked sands of ancient Egypt, death was not an end but a gateway, a passage to a realm where the soul embarked on its greatest journey. The Egyptians believed that life on earth was merely a prelude to an eternal existence, and their funerary practices were designed to ensure a safe and prosperous transition to the afterlife. At the heart of these rituals was an unwavering obsession with immortality, a belief so profound that it shaped every aspect of their culture, from grand pyramids to intricate spells inscribed on papyrus. The construction of the pyramid stands as one of the most enduring symbols of this quest for eternal life. These monumental structures were more than just tombs. They were cosmic gateways, designed to align with the stars and guide the pharaoh's soul to the heavens. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, was built with such precision that its sides align almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, reflecting the Egyptians' deep connection to the cosmos. Each pyramid was a testament to the pharaoh's divine status, a physical manifestation of their journey to join the gods, but the journey didn't end with the tomb. The process of mummification was equally crucial, a meticulous ritual that preserved the body for its eternal role. The Egyptians believed that the soul, or Ka, needed a physical vessel to inhabit in the afterlife. To ensure this, embalmers removed organs, treated the body with natron salts, and wrapped it in linen bandages, often adorned with amulets for protection. This process could take up to 70 days, a reflection of the care and reverence given to the deceased. Yet, even a perfectly preserved body wasn't enough. The soul also needed guidance, and this is where the Book of the Dead comes into play. This collection of spells, prayers, and instructions served as a roadmap for the afterlife, helping the deceased navigate the dangers of the underworld. One of the most famous scenes depicts the weighing of the heart ceremony, where the soul's heart is measured against the feather of Mat, the goddess of truth and justice. A heart heavier than the feather would be devoured by the monstrous Ammit, condemning the soul to oblivion, but a balanced heart meant the soul could proceed to the field of reeds, a paradise of eternal abundance. These practices reveal a culture deeply invested in the idea of continuity and renewal. For the Egyptians, death wasn't something to be feared. It was a natural part of a cycle that extended beyond the physical world. Their funerary rituals were acts of hope, expressions of a belief that life, in some form, could persist forever. When compared to other ancient cultures, the Egyptian approach to death stands out for its complexity and optimism. While the Mesopotamians viewed the afterlife as a shadowy, gloomy realm, the Egyptians envisioned a vibrant, eternal existence. This contrast highlights the diversity of human beliefs about death and the afterlife, each shaped by unique cultural and environmental contexts. As we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient ideas about immortality influenced other civilizations, shaping the spiritual landscapes of the ancient world. But for now, let's marvel at the ingenuity and passion of the Egyptians, whose quest for eternal life left an indelible mark on history. Their legacy reminds us that the mysteries of life and death have always been at the heart of human existence, driving us to seek meaning and connection in the face of the unknown. High atop the slopes of Mount Parnassus, shrouded in mist and mystery, stood the most revered sanctuary of the ancient world, the Oracle of Delphi. For centuries, kings, generals, and ordinary citizens alike made the arduous journey to this sacred site, seeking guidance from the gods. The Oracle of Delphi wasn't just a religious institution, it was the beating heart of Greek spirituality and political life. Here, the priestess known as the Pythia would enter a trance-like state, channeling the voice of Apollo, the god of prophecy. Her cryptic pronouncements shaped the course of wars, the founding of colonies, and even the fates of individuals. The process of divination at Delphi was as fascinating as it was enigmatic. The Pythia, often a local woman chosen for her purity, would sit on a tripod above a fissure in the earth, breathing in vapors that were said to induce her prophetic trance. In this altered state, she would utter fragmented phrases, which priests then interpreted into coherent prophecies. These messages were rarely straightforward. They were riddles that required careful decoding. For example, when King Croesus of Lydia asked whether he should wage war against Persia, the oracle famously replied, "If you cross the river, a great empire will fall." Confident in his strength, Croesus attacked only to realize too late that the empire destined to fall was his own. The influence of the oracle extended far beyond individual consultations. Cities consulted Delphi before embarking on major endeavors, from establishing new colonies to drafting laws. The oracle's pronouncements were seen as divine endorsements, lending legitimacy to political decisions and uniting the fragmented Greek city-states under a shared spiritual authority. Even military strategies were shaped by the oracle's words. Before the Battle of Salamis, the Athenian general Themistocles interpreted a prophecy to mean that victory lay in naval combat, a decision that ultimately saved Greece from Persian domination. But the Oracle of Delphi was more than just a political tool. It was a deeply personal experience for many. Ordinary Greeks sought guidance on matters of love, health, and family, believing that the gods could offer insight into their most intimate struggles. This duality, the blending of the public and the personal, made Delphi a cornerstone of Greek identity. It was a place where the divine and the human intersected, where the mysteries of the cosmos were made accessible, if only for a fleeting moment. The practice of divination wasn't unique to Greece, however. Across the ancient world, similar traditions emerged, each reflecting the values and fears of their cultures. In Mesopotamia, priests examined the livers of sacrificed animals for omens, while in China, oracle bones were heated until they cracked, revealing messages from ancestors. The Etruscans of Italy practiced haruspicy, interpreting the flights of birds and the patterns of lightning. These practices, though varied in form, shared a common purpose: to bridge the gap between the human and the divine, to find meaning in the chaos of existence. What makes Delphi stand out is the enduring legacy of its mystique. Even today, the idea of seeking guidance from the unknown resonates deeply with us. The oracle's riddles remind us that the future is never certain, that wisdom often lies in interpretation rather than clarity. As we move forward, we'll see how these ancient practices of divination evolved, influencing the spiritual traditions of later civilizations. But for now, let's pause to reflect on the profound impact of Delphi, a place where the whispers of the gods still echo through the ages, inviting us to ponder the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. As we journey from the misty peaks of Delphi to the sunlit plains of ancient India, we encounter a spiritual tradition that has shaped one of the world's oldest and most enduring religions, the Vedic rituals of Hinduism. These practices, which date back over 3,000 years, are not just ceremonies. They are windows into a world where every act, every word, and every offering is imbued with profound meaning. At the heart of these rituals lies a simple yet powerful element: fire. Fire, in Vedic tradition, is more than a physical force. It is a divine messenger, a bridge between the human and the celestial. Central to these rituals was the yajna, or fire sacrifice, where offerings of ghee, grains, and herbs were cast into the flames. The fire wasn't just consuming these offerings, it was transforming them, carrying them to the gods. The Rig Veda, the oldest of the Vedic texts, contains hymns that were chanted during these ceremonies, each syllable carefully chosen to invoke the presence of deities like Agni, the god of fire, and Indra, the king of the gods. These chants, known as mantras, were believed to have a vibrational power, capable of harmonizing the cosmos and aligning the worshipper with the divine order. What's striking about Vedic rituals is their precision. Every detail, from the arrangement of the fire altar to the timing of the chants, was meticulously planned. This wasn't mere superstition, it was a science of the sacred, a way to create a perfect balance between the material and the spiritual. The priests, or Brahmins, who performed these rituals were not just religious figures. They were scholars, trained in the intricate art of maintaining this cosmic harmony. Their role was to ensure that the rituals were performed flawlessly, as even the smallest error was believed to disrupt the delicate equilibrium of the universe. The Rig Veda itself is a testament to the depth of Vedic thought. Its hymns explore profound philosophical questions about the nature of existence, the origins of the cosmos, and the relationship between humans and the divine. One famous hymn, the Nasadiya Sukta, ponders the mystery of creation, asking, "Who really knows? Who will hear proclaim it? Whence was it produced? Whence is this creation?" This spirit of inquiry, woven into the fabric of Vedic rituals, laid the groundwork for later Hindu philosophy, including the Upanishads and the concept of Brahman, the ultimate reality that pervades all things. But Vedic rituals weren't just about grand ceremonies or abstract philosophy. They were deeply personal. For the individual, participating in a yajna was a way to seek blessings, purify the mind, and cultivate a sense of connection to the divine. The act of offering something valuable to the fire symbolized letting go of ego and attachment, a theme that would later become central to Hindu spirituality. As these rituals evolved, they gave rise to another profound development, the practice of asceticism. While the Vedic priests upheld the tradition of fire sacrifices, a new movement began to emerge, one that sought enlightenment not through external rituals, but through inner discipline and renunciation. This shift marked a turning point in Indian spirituality, paving the way for traditions like yoga and meditation. The legacy of Vedic rituals reminds us of humanity's enduring quest to connect with the divine, a quest that takes many forms, from the roaring flames of a yajna to the silent introspection of an ascetic. As we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient practices continue to shape the spiritual landscape of India and beyond, revealing the timeless wisdom of a tradition that still resonates today. While the Vedic rituals of ancient India celebrated the cosmic connection between humans and the divine through fire and offerings, a new movement began to emerge, one that turned inward, seeking enlightenment not through external ceremonies but through the radical discipline of self-denial. This was the rise of asceticism, a path that rejected materialism and embraced austerity as a means to transcend the limitations of the physical world. Figures like Siddhartha Gautama, who would become the Buddha, and Mahavira, the founder of Jainism, epitomized this shift, abandoning wealth and comfort in pursuit of spiritual awakening. The Buddha's journey is perhaps the most iconic example of this transformation. Born into luxury as a prince, Siddhartha was deeply troubled by the suffering he witnessed outside the palace walls. At the age of 29, he renounced his royal life, trading silks for simple robes and a life of wandering. For years, he practiced extreme asceticism, fasting to the brink of starvation and enduring harsh physical trials. Yet it was only when he rejected these extremes and adopted a middle way that he achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. His teachings, centered on the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, offered a roadmap to liberation from suffering, one that resonated far beyond the borders of India. Mahavira, another towering figure of this era, took asceticism to even greater extremes. As the 24th and final Tirthankara of Jainism, he preached a doctrine of non-violence, truthfulness, and complete detachment from worldly desires. Jain ascetics, known as sadhis, practiced rigorous discipline, often abstaining from food for days and walking barefoot to avoid harming even the smallest insect. Their commitment to ahimsa, or non-violence, influenced not only spiritual practices but also ethical philosophies across the globe, including the work of figures like Mahatma Gandhi. What made asceticism so compelling was its universal message that true freedom lies in letting go. By renouncing material possessions and physical comforts, ascetics sought to strip away the distractions of the world, focusing instead on the cultivation of inner peace and wisdom. This idea wasn't confined to India. In ancient Greece, the Cynics rejected societal norms, living in poverty to pursue virtue. In early Christianity, desert monks like Saint Anthony retreated to the wilderness, dedicating their lives to prayer and solitude. Even in modern times, the principles of asceticism echo in movements like minimalism, where people seek to simplify their lives in pursuit of greater meaning. The enduring appeal of asceticism lies in its radical simplicity. In a world often dominated by excess, the idea of finding fulfillment through less has a timeless resonance. It challenges us to question what we truly need, not just materially, but spiritually. For the Buddha, the key to enlightenment was understanding the nature of desire. For Mahavira, it was the practice of extreme self-discipline. Both paths, though different in approach, shared a common goal: to transcend the illusions of the world and connect with a deeper, more enduring truth. As ascetic practices spread, they began to shape the development of organized religion. Monasteries, both Buddhist and Christian, became centers of learning and spiritual practice, preserving knowledge and fostering communities dedicated to the pursuit of enlightenment. These institutions carried forward the legacy of asceticism, blending it with the structures of organized faith. This evolution from individual asceticism to communal monasticism marks a fascinating chapter in the history of ritual mysticism. It reminds us that the search for meaning is not a solitary endeavor but a shared human experience, one that continues to inspire and challenge us across cultures and centuries. As we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient practices of self-denial and spiritual discipline laid the groundwork for the organized religious traditions that would come to dominate the spiritual landscape of the ancient world. In the shadowy corners of ancient Greece and Rome, hidden from the public eye, thrived some of history's most enigmatic spiritual traditions, the mystery cults. Unlike the state-sponsored religions that dominated public life, these secretive groups offered something far more intimate, a personal, transformative connection to the divine. Among the most famous were the Eleusinian mysteries, dedicated to the goddesses Demeter and Persephone, and the cult of Mithras, which spread across the Roman Empire like wildfire. These weren't just religions, they were immersive experiences designed to awaken the soul and promise salvation through profound, often life-altering rituals. The Eleusinian mysteries, held in the town of Eleusis near Athens, were perhaps the most revered of these cults. For over 1,000 years, initiates gathered to participate in rites shrouded in secrecy, so secret, in fact, that revealing the details was punishable by death. What we do know is that the rituals revolved around the myth of Demeter and Persephone, a story of death, rebirth, and the cycle of the seasons. Initiates underwent a dramatic ceremony, often involving fasting, purification, and the consumption of a sacred drink called kykeon. The exact nature of the experience remains a mystery, but those who participated described it as deeply transformative, offering a glimpse of the afterlife and a profound sense of renewal. Meanwhile, the cult of Mithras, which flourished among Roman soldiers and merchants, offered a very different kind of mysticism. Rooted in Persian traditions, Mithraism centered on the god Mithras, a divine figure associated with light, truth, and cosmic order. Initiates progressed through a series of grades, each marked by symbolic rituals and tests of loyalty. The most iconic of these rituals took place in underground temples called Mithria, where initiates reenacted the slaying of a bull, a symbol of sacrifice and rebirth. These ceremonies weren't just spiritual exercises, they were acts of unity, binding members together in a shared experience of devotion and purpose. What set these mystery cults apart was their focus on the individual. While state religions emphasized communal rituals and civic duty, the mystery cults offered something deeply personal, a direct encounter with the divine. They promised not just eternal life, but a sense of belonging and meaning that transcended the mundane world. For many, this was a radical departure from the impersonal nature of public worship, a chance to experience the sacred in a way that felt immediate and real. The influence of these cults extended far beyond their time. The themes of death and rebirth central to the Eleusinian mysteries echoed in later Christian traditions, particularly in the concept of resurrection. Similarly, the hierarchical structure and symbolic rituals of Mithraism found parallels in early Christian practices, from baptism to the Eucharist. Even the idea of secret knowledge, passed down through initiation, can be seen in later mystical traditions like Gnosticism and Freemasonry. But the mystery cults were more than just precursors to later religions. They were a reflection of the human desire for connection and transformation. In a world where life was often harsh and uncertain, these traditions offered hope, a promise that there was more to existence than what met the eye. They remind us that spirituality, at its core, is about seeking answers to the deepest questions of life and death, and finding meaning in the mysteries that surround us. As we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient practices of personal mysticism evolved, adapting to new cultural contexts and shaping the spiritual landscapes of later civilizations. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the enduring legacy of the mystery cults, a testament to humanity's timeless quest for the divine and the power of secrets to transform the soul. In the dimly lit workshops of medieval Europe, where the air was thick with the scent of herbs and molten metals, a unique fusion of science, philosophy, and spirituality took shape. Alchemy. Far more than a precursor to modern chemistry, alchemy was a deeply mystical pursuit, one that sought not just to transform base metals into gold, but to transform the human soul itself. At its core, alchemy was a quest for the philosopher's stone, a legendary substance said to grant eternal life and enlightenment. But this elusive stone wasn't just a physical object, it was a symbol of the alchemist's ultimate goal, the perfection of both matter and spirit. Alchemical texts, filled with cryptic symbols and allegorical imagery, reveal a world where every process held a double meaning. The transformation of lead into gold, for example, wasn't merely a chemical experiment. It was a metaphor for the soul's journey from ignorance to wisdom. Alchemists saw the universe as a living, interconnected whole, where the microcosm of the human body mirrored the macrocosm of the cosmos. By mastering the elements earth, air, fire, and water, they believed they could unlock the secrets of creation and achieve spiritual transcendence. One of the most fascinating figures in this tradition was Paracelsus, a Swiss polymath who lived in the early 16th century. Paracelsus was a trailblazer in both medicine and mysticism, bridging the gap between the two with his groundbreaking ideas. He rejected the rigid dogmas of his time, advocating instead for a holistic approach to healing that combined natural remedies with spiritual insight. Paracelsus believed that the human body was a reflection of the divine, and that illness was a disruption of the harmony between the physical and the spiritual. His work laid the foundation for modern pharmacology while also preserving the mystical underpinnings of alchemy, demonstrating how science and spirituality could coexist in pursuit of a greater understanding of the world. The influence of alchemy extended far beyond the medieval period, shaping both scientific and spiritual thought for centuries. Early scientists like Isaac Newton, often remembered for his laws of motion, was also a dedicated alchemist, spending years decoding alchemical texts in search of hidden knowledge. The alchemical emphasis on observation and experimentation paved the way for the scientific revolution, even as its mystical elements continued to inspire esoteric traditions. This duality, the blending of the practical and the profound, makes alchemy such a compelling chapter in the history of mysticism. It reminds us that the quest for knowledge is never purely intellectual. It is also deeply personal, driven by a desire to understand our place in the cosmos. From the symbolic language of alchemical texts to the visionary work of figures like Paracelsus, alchemy offers a glimpse into a world where science and spirituality were not at odds, but intertwined. As we turn our attention to the broader world of esoteric traditions, we'll see how these ancient practices of transformation and enlightenment continue to evolve, shaping the spiritual landscapes of later centuries. But for now, let's reflect on the enduring legacy of alchemy, a testament to humanity's timeless pursuit of wisdom, both within and beyond the material world. Amid the flickering candlelight of medieval Jewish study halls, a profound and mystical tradition began to take shape, one that would forever alter the spiritual landscapes of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This was the Kabbalah, a system of esoteric thought that sought to unravel the deepest mysteries of existence, the nature of God, the structure of the universe, and the soul's journey toward enlightenment. At its heart, the Kabbalah was more than a set of teachings. It was a map of the cosmos, a guide to understanding the divine through symbols, numbers, and profound meditation. Central to Kabbalistic thought is the Tree of Life, a symbolic diagram composed of 10 interconnected spheres, or sephirot. Each sephira represents an aspect of the divine, from wisdom and understanding to mercy and judgment. Together, they form a pathway through which divine energy flows into the world, connecting the infinite with the finite. The tree of life isn't just a static image, it's a dynamic framework for spiritual growth. Kabbalists use it as a tool for meditation, contemplating each sephira to deepen their understanding of God and their own place in the universe. This intricate system of symbols reflects the Kabbalistic belief that the divine is both immanent, present in all things, and transcendent, existing beyond human comprehension. Another fascinating aspect of Kabbalah is gematria, the practice of assigning numerical values to Hebrew letters and words. Kabbalists believed that numbers held hidden meanings, and by decoding these numerical relationships, they could uncover deeper spiritual truths. For example, the Hebrew word for life, chai, has a numerical value of 18, making the number significant in Jewish tradition. Gematria wasn't just an intellectual exercise. It was a way of seeing the world as a tapestry of interconnected meanings, where every letter and number pointed to a greater cosmic order. The influence of Kabbalistic ideas extended far beyond Jewish mysticism. In the Renaissance, Christian scholars like Pico della Mirandola and Johannes Reuchlin studied Kabbalah, seeing it as a bridge between ancient wisdom and Christian theology. They believed that Kabbalistic texts contained hidden truths about Jesus and the nature of the Trinity. Similarly, Islamic mystics found parallels between Kabbalah and Sufi teachings, particularly in the emphasis on divine unity and the transformative power of spiritual practice. This cross-cultural exchange enriched the mystical traditions of all three religions, demonstrating how Kabbalah served as a meeting point for diverse spiritual paths. What makes Kabbalah so enduringly fascinating is its ability to speak to both the intellect and the soul. Its teachings are deeply philosophical, yet they also offer practical tools for personal transformation. Kabbalists believe that by studying these mysteries, we can align ourselves with divine will, bringing harmony to our lives and the world around us. This balance between the abstract and the practical has kept Kabbalah relevant for centuries, inspiring not only religious thinkers but also artists, writers, and seekers of all kinds. As we move from the mystical realms of Kabbalah to the creative worlds of art and literature, we'll see how these ancient ideas continue to shape human expression. The interplay between mysticism and creativity has produced some of history's most profound works, from the visionary paintings of William Blake to the poetic meditations of Rumi. This connection reminds us that the quest for meaning is not confined to religion. It is woven into every aspect of human culture, a testament to our endless curiosity and our desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. As we step into the awe-inspiring grandeur of medieval cathedrals, we enter a world where stone, glass, and art converge to tell stories far beyond the surface. These towering structures weren't just places of worship, they were masterpieces of mystical symbolism, designed to elevate the soul and encode profound spiritual truths. From the intricate stained glass windows of Chartres Cathedral to the geometric precision of Gothic arches, every element was a deliberate expression of divine harmony. Medieval art and architecture were more than aesthetic achievements. They were bridges between the earthly and the celestial, inviting worshippers to glimpse the sacred through the beauty of craftsmanship. At the heart of this tradition was the belief that geometry and numbers held cosmic significance. The architects of cathedrals like Chartres employed sacred geometry, using ratios and patterns believed to reflect the order of the universe. The rose window, with its radiating symmetry, wasn't just a decorative feature. It symbolized the cosmos, with God at its center. Similarly, the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical pattern found in nature, often guided the proportions of these buildings, creating spaces that resonated with a sense of universal harmony. These designs weren't arbitrary. They were carefully crafted to evoke a sense of the divine, drawing the viewer into a deeper contemplation of spiritual realities. The same mystical principles infused the illuminated manuscripts of the time. These richly decorated texts, painstakingly created by monks, were more than just books. They were portals to the sacred. Figures like Hildegard of Bingen, a visionary abbess and polymath, used art to convey her mystical experiences. Her illuminated work, Civias, depicted her visions of heaven and earth, blending vibrant colors and symbolic imagery to communicate the ineffable. For Hildegard, art was a language of the soul, a way to make the divine accessible to ordinary people. Religious art, too, was steeped in symbolism. The use of light in stained glass, for example, wasn't merely decorative, it represented divine illumination, the idea that God's truth could penetrate even the darkest corners of the human heart. The labyrinthine floor designs found in many cathedrals served as spiritual tools, offering a physical path for meditation and reflection. Every detail, from the placement of statues to the choice of colors, carried layers of meaning, inviting worshippers to engage not just with their eyes, but with their minds and spirits. What's remarkable is how these artistic expressions shaped cultural identity. In a time when few could read or write, cathedrals and illuminated manuscripts became a universal language, conveying complex theological ideas through imagery and design. They were communal spaces where the sacred and the everyday intersected, reinforcing shared beliefs and values. For the medieval mind, these works weren't just representations of the divine, they were encounters with it, moments where the veil between heaven and earth seemed to thin. This blending of mysticism and artistry didn't just reflect the spiritual aspirations of the medieval world, it also laid the groundwork for the Renaissance, where art and science would continue to explore the mysteries of existence. The cathedrals and manuscripts of the Middle Ages remind us that creativity and spirituality have always been intertwined, each inspiring the other in the quest to understand the divine. As we turn our attention to the role of mysticism in shaping cultural identity, we'll see how these ancient practices of artistic expression continued to influence the spiritual and intellectual landscapes of later centuries. But for now, let's pause to marvel at the ingenuity and vision of medieval artists and architects, whose work stands as a testament to humanity's timeless desire to connect with the sacred through beauty and meaning. In the sun-drenched deserts and bustling cities of the Islamic world, a spiritual movement emerged that sought to transcend the boundaries of doctrine and ritual, reaching directly for the heart of the divine. This was Sufism, a mystical tradition within Islam that emphasized love, devotion, and the direct experience of God. Unlike the more formal practices of mainstream Islam, Sufism embraced poetry, music, and dance as pathways to spiritual ecstasy, creating a vibrant and deeply personal form of worship that continues to inspire seekers around the world. At the heart of Sufism lies the concept of fana, or annihilation of the self, a state where the individual ego dissolves and the soul merges with the divine. This idea was vividly expressed in the poetry of figures like Jalal al-Din Rumi, whose verses overflow with longing and love for God. Rumi's words, written over 7 centuries ago, still resonate today, capturing the universal human desire for connection and transcendence. His famous metaphor of the reed flute, which sings only when it is hollow, speaks to the Sufi belief that true spiritual awakening comes from emptying oneself of worldly attachments and filling the void with divine love. But Sufism wasn't just about quiet contemplation. It was also a celebration of movement and sound. The whirling dervishes of the Mevlevi order, founded by Rumi's followers, embody this idea. Their spinning dance, known as the Sama, is more than a performance, it's a form of meditation in motion, a physical expression of the soul's journey toward union with the divine. As the dervishes whirl, their flowing robes create a mesmerizing visual rhythm, symbolizing the cosmic dance of creation and the eternal cycle of life and death. Not all Sufis found acceptance within their own communities, however. Figures like al-Hallaj, a 9th-century mystic, faced persecution for their radical teachings. Al-Hallaj famously declared, "I am the truth," a statement that was interpreted as blasphemy by Orthodox authorities. His execution in Baghdad stands as a stark reminder of the tension between mystical experience and religious orthodoxy. Yet, even in death, al-Hallaj's legacy endured, inspiring countless others to seek a direct, unmediated connection with the divine. Sufism's emphasis on personal experience and universal love has made it a source of inspiration far beyond the Islamic world. In an age of division and conflict, its message of unity and compassion feels more relevant than ever. Modern seekers, whether Muslim or not, are drawn to its poetry, music, and rituals, finding in them a timeless wisdom that transcends cultural and religious boundaries. This adaptability has allowed Sufism to thrive even in the face of challenges. During the colonial era, when many traditional spiritual practices were suppressed or marginalized, Sufism often served as a quiet but powerful form of resistance. By preserving their mystical traditions, Sufi communities maintained a sense of identity and continuity, even as the world around them changed. As we move forward, we'll explore how mysticism adapted to the upheavals of colonialism, blending ancient practices with new influences to create unique spiritual expressions. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the profound legacy of Sufism, a tradition that reminds us of the transformative power of love, the beauty of surrender, and the boundless possibilities of the human spirit. As the sun set over the colonial landscapes of Latin America, a profound and intricate fusion of spiritual traditions began to take root. In the wake of European conquest and the transatlantic slave trade, indigenous, African, and European mystical practices collided, giving rise to unique syncretic traditions that continue to thrive today. This blending of beliefs wasn't just a survival strategy, it was a testament to the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit in the face of oppression. From the vibrant rituals of Santeria to the deeply personal veneration of saints, these syncretic practices reflect a rich tapestry of cultural exchange and spiritual innovation. Santeria, for example, emerged as a powerful synthesis of Yoruba traditions from West Africa and the Catholicism imposed by Spanish colonizers. Enslaved Africans, forbidden from openly practicing their ancestral religions, found a way to preserve their spiritual heritage by disguising their deities, or orishas, as Catholic saints. In this way, the warrior god Chango became Saint Barbara, while the motherly Yemaya was associated with the Virgin Mary. These parallels allowed practitioners to honor their gods under the guise of Catholic worship, creating a spiritual practice that was both deeply traditional and ingeniously adaptive. Similarly, the veneration of saints in Latin America took on a distinctly syncretic flavor. Indigenous communities, already accustomed to honoring local deities, embraced the Catholic saints as new figures of devotion, often blending them with pre-existing spiritual figures. The Virgin of Guadalupe, for instance, became a powerful symbol of Mexican identity, merging the Catholic Mary with the indigenous goddess Tonantzin. This fusion wasn't just a matter of convenience. It was a way for colonized peoples to assert their cultural identity and find meaning in a world turned upside down. What makes these syncretic traditions so remarkable is their ability to adapt and endure. Despite centuries of suppression and marginalization, they have not only survived but flourished, evolving to meet the needs of each new generation. They remind us that mysticism is not a static set of rules or rituals, but a living, breathing expression of the human desire for connection and meaning. In the face of oppression, these traditions became a source of strength and resistance, a way for marginalized communities to reclaim their spiritual autonomy. This adaptability is perhaps the most enduring legacy of colonial Latin America's syncretic mysticism. It shows us that spirituality is not confined to rigid boundaries or fixed traditions. Instead, it is a dynamic force, capable of absorbing new influences and transforming itself to meet the challenges of a changing world. As we turn our attention to modern mystical movements, we'll see how this spirit of innovation continues to shape the spiritual landscape, offering new ways to explore the mysteries of existence in an ever-evolving world. The story of syncretism in Latin America is more than a historical curiosity. It's a living testament to the power of spiritual resilience. It challenges us to think about how we, too, can find meaning and connection in the face of adversity, drawing on the wisdom of the past to navigate the complexities of the present. And as we move forward, we'll explore how these ancient practices of adaptation and transformation continue to inspire seekers around the world, bridging the gap between tradition and modernity in the quest for spiritual understanding. As the Industrial Revolution reshaped the world with its factories and machines, a quiet current began to rise, one that sought to reclaim the sacred in an increasingly materialistic age. This was the revival of mysticism in the 19th century, a movement fueled by the romantic longing for connection, wonder, and the unseen. Amid the clatter of progress, figures like William Blake and Helena Blavatsky emerged as torchbearers of this spiritual resurgence, drawing on ancient wisdom to illuminate a path beyond the cold rationalism of their time. William Blake, the visionary poet and artist, was a voice crying out against the dark satanic mills of industrial society. His works, filled with mystical imagery and prophetic visions, offered a radical alternative to the prevailing worldview. Blake didn't just write poems, he painted entire cosmologies, blending biblical themes with his own unique mythology. In works like The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, he challenged the rigid dualities of good and evil, instead embracing the idea that spiritual enlightenment comes from reconciling opposites. For Blake, the imagination wasn't just a faculty of the mind. It was a divine force, a way to perceive the infinite in the finite. His art and poetry became a rallying cry for those seeking a deeper, more intuitive understanding of the world. At the same time, the spiritualist movement was gaining traction, offering a more tangible connection to the unseen. Seances, where mediums claimed to communicate with the dead, became a cultural phenomenon, captivating everyone from curious housewives to skeptical scientists. These gatherings weren't just about contacting lost loved ones. They were a response to the existential questions raised by a rapidly changing world. Spiritualism provided a sense of continuity, a reassurance that life extended beyond the grave. It also introduced many to the idea of an interconnected spiritual realm, laying the groundwork for later mystical traditions. Enter Helena Blavatsky, a larger-than-life figure who co-founded the Theosophical Society in 1875. Blavatsky's writings, particularly The Secret Doctrine, synthesized ancient wisdom from around the world, from the Vedas of India to the mysteries of Egypt. She proposed that all religions shared a common esoteric core, a universal truth hidden beneath their surface differences. Blavatsky's work was controversial, often dismissed as pseudoscience, but it resonated deeply with those disillusioned by the materialism of the age. Her emphasis on reincarnation, karma, and the pursuit of spiritual evolution inspired a new generation of seekers, many of whom would go on to shape modern spirituality. What united these diverse figures and movements was a shared belief in the possibility of transcending the mundane. Whether through Blake's visionary art, the seances of spiritualists, or Blavatsky's cosmic philosophy, they sought to reconnect with a sense of wonder and mystery that the Industrial Revolution had threatened to extinguish. This revival wasn't just a nostalgic longing for the past. It was a forward-looking quest for a spirituality that could address the challenges of the modern world. As these movements gained momentum, they also began to incorporate ideas from Eastern mysticism, particularly Hinduism and Buddhism. Theosophy, for example, played a key role in introducing concepts like meditation and karma to Western audiences. This cross-cultural exchange marked a turning point, broadening the scope of Western spirituality and paving the way for the New Age movement of the 20th century. The 19th century revival of mysticism reminds us that even in times of great upheaval, the human spirit yearns for connection and meaning. It challenges us to look beyond the surface of our lives, to seek the deeper truths that unite us across cultures and centuries. And as we turn our gaze to the East, we'll see how this exchange of ideas continues to shape the spiritual landscape, offering new ways to explore the mysteries of existence in an ever-changing world. As the 19th century gave way to the 20th, a new wave of spiritual exploration began to sweep across the Western world, this time drawing deeply from the wells of Eastern mysticism. The translation of ancient texts like the Bhagavad Gita and the Tao Te Ching opened the door to a world of wisdom that had been largely inaccessible to Western audiences. These texts, rich with insights into the nature of existence and the path to enlightenment, offered a stark contrast to the materialism and rationalism that dominated Western thought. Suddenly, ideas like Dharma and the Tao became part of the global conversation, sparking a profound rethinking of spirituality. One of the key figures in this cultural exchange was Swami Vivekananda, a charismatic Hindu monk who captivated audiences at the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. His speech, which began with the simple greeting, "Sisters and Brothers of America," introduced a generation of Westerners to the principles of Vedanta, the philosophical foundation of Hinduism. Vivekananda's message was clear: all religions are paths to the same truth, and the ultimate goal of life is to realize one's unity with the divine. His teachings resonated deeply, planting the seeds for a broader interest in Eastern spirituality that would flourish in the decades to come. Around the same time, Zen Buddhism began to make its way into Western consciousness, thanks in large part to the efforts of D.T. Suzuki, a scholar and translator. Suzuki's writings on Zen, particularly its emphasis on direct experience and mindfulness, struck a chord with intellectuals and artists alike. Figures like Carl Jung and Alan Watts were deeply influenced by Suzuki's work, seeing in Zen a way to bridge the gap between psychology and spirituality. The simplicity and immediacy of Zen practices, such as Zazen meditation, appealed to those seeking a more experiential approach to the divine, one that didn't rely on dogma or doctrine. This cross-cultural exchange didn't just remain in the realm of ideas, it transformed everyday practices. Yoga, once a niche discipline practiced by ascetics in the Himalayas, became a global phenomenon. By the mid-20th century, yoga studios were popping up in cities across Europe and North America, offering a physical and spiritual practice that promised both health and inner peace. Meditation, too, gained widespread popularity, evolving from an esoteric ritual to a mainstream tool for stress reduction and self-discovery. These practices, rooted in ancient Eastern traditions, became part of the fabric of modern life, reshaping how millions of people approached spirituality and well-being. What made this exchange so transformative was its ability to transcend cultural boundaries. Eastern mysticism didn't replace Western traditions, it enriched them, offering new perspectives on timeless questions about the nature of existence and the purpose of life. This blending of East and West created a more inclusive, global spirituality, one that emphasized personal experience over institutional authority. It also paved the way for movements like the New Age, which drew on a wide range of mystical traditions to create a uniquely modern approach to the sacred. As we reflect on this chapter of spiritual history, it's impossible not to notice how deeply these ideas have shaped the world we live in today. From mindfulness apps to yoga retreats, the influence of Eastern mysticism is everywhere, a testament to the enduring power of these ancient traditions. This cross-cultural exchange reminds us that spirituality is not confined to any one tradition or culture. It is a universal human experience, a shared quest for meaning and connection that transcends time and place. Now, as we turn our attention to the role of mysticism in contemporary society, we'll explore how these ancient practices continue to evolve, offering new ways to navigate the complexities of modern life. The journey of mysticism is far from over. It is a living, breathing force, constantly adapting to meet the needs of each new generation. As the 20th century unfolded, a fascinating convergence began to take shape, one where the ancient wisdom of mysticism met the scientific rigor of modern psychology. At the forefront of this intersection was Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist whose groundbreaking work sought to bridge the gap between the spiritual and the psychological. Jung didn't just study the human mind, he explored its depths, uncovering connections between mystical traditions and the universal patterns of human experience. His ideas, particularly the collective unconscious and archetypes, revolutionized how we understand the psyche, offering a framework that continues to influence both psychology and spirituality today. Central to Jung's theory is the concept of the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of memories and experiences inherited from our ancestors. Think of it as a vast, timeless library, filled not with books but with symbols, myths, and instincts that shape our behavior and perceptions. Jung believed that this collective unconscious is the source of our most profound dreams, creative inspirations, and spiritual experiences. It's what connects us not only to each other but to the deeper mysteries of existence. Within this collective unconscious, Jung identified archetypes, universal symbols, and patterns that appear across cultures and time periods. These archetypes, like the hero, the wise old man, or the shadow, are not just abstract ideas. They are living forces within us, shaping our thoughts, emotions, and relationships. For example, the hero archetype might inspire us to overcome challenges, while the shadow represents the parts of ourselves we hide or deny. By exploring these archetypes, Jung believed we could achieve greater self-awareness and psychological integration, a process he called individuation. But Jung's work wasn't just about theory, it had profound therapeutic implications. He saw mystical experiences, those moments of awe, connection, or transcendence, as essential to mental health. Far from being mere hallucinations or delusions, these experiences could provide a sense of meaning and purpose, helping individuals navigate the challenges of life. Jung's approach to therapy often involved exploring dreams, myths, and spiritual practices, creating a space where patients could connect with the deeper layers of their psyche. This integration of mysticism and psychology didn't end with Jung. Today, researchers continue to explore the therapeutic potential of mystical experiences, from the use of psychedelics in treating depression to the role of meditation in reducing stress. Studies have shown that practices like mindfulness and visualization can activate parts of the brain associated with empathy, creativity, and emotional regulation. Even concepts like the collective unconscious and archetypes have found new relevance in fields like narrative therapy and creative arts therapy, where storytelling and symbolism are used to heal and transform. What makes this intersection so compelling is its ability to address the whole person, mind, body, and spirit. It reminds us that psychology isn't just about diagnosing and treating mental illness. It's about understanding what it means to be human. By embracing the insights of mysticism, modern psychology offers a more holistic approach to mental health, one that honors the complexity and depth of the human experience. As we move from the scientific to the cultural, we'll see how these mystical ideas have permeated popular culture, shaping everything from literature and film to music and art. The journey of mysticism is far from confined to ancient texts or academic theories. It's a living, evolving force that continues to inspire and transform us in ways both profound and unexpected. The allure of mysticism has never faded, it has simply evolved, finding new expressions in the vibrant landscapes of contemporary art, literature, and film. From the dreamlike canvases of Frida Kahlo to the mind-bending realities of the Matrix, mystical themes continue to captivate audiences, offering a lens through which we can explore the profound and the unknowable. These modern interpretations are not just artistic choices, they are reflections of humanity's timeless quest to make sense of the mysteries that surround us. Take Frida Kahlo, for instance. Her self-portraits are more than just depictions of her physical form. They are windows into her soul, filled with symbolic imagery that speaks to her pain, resilience, and spiritual beliefs. In works like The Two Fridas, she explores themes of duality and identity, blending personal experience with universal archetypes. The surreal elements in her art, floating hearts, thorny vines, and animal companions, are not mere fantasy. They are deeply rooted in her Mexican heritage and her fascination with indigenous spiritual traditions. Kahlo's art invites us to see beyond the surface, to confront the complexities of existence with honesty and courage. In the realm of film, The Matrix stands as a modern masterpiece of mystical storytelling. At its core, the film is a meditation on reality, illusion, and the search for truth, themes that echo ancient philosophies and spiritual teachings. The concept of the Matrix, a simulated reality that masks the true nature of existence, draws parallels to Eastern ideas like Maya, the veil of illusion in Hinduism. Neo's journey of awakening, guided by figures like Morpheus and the Oracle, mirrors the archetypal hero's quest found in myths across cultures. Through its groundbreaking visuals and philosophical depth, The Matrix challenges us to question our perceptions and consider the possibility of a deeper, hidden reality. Literature, too, has embraced mystical symbolism in powerful ways. Authors like Haruki Murakami weave surreal and fantastical elements into their narratives, creating worlds where the boundaries between the real and the imaginary blur. In Kafka on the Shore, for example, Murakami explores themes of fate, identity, and the interconnectedness of all things, drawing on both Western and Eastern mystical traditions. His characters often embark on journeys that are as much about self-discovery as they are about external adventure, echoing the spiritual quests of ancient mystics. What makes these modern works so compelling is their ability to translate timeless mystical ideas into contemporary language. They remind us that the questions we ask today about the nature of reality, the meaning of life, and our place in the universe are the same questions that have fascinated humanity for millennia. By embedding these themes in art, literature, and film, creators give us new ways to engage with the unknown, to find meaning in the chaos of modern life, and to connect with something greater than ourselves. As we look to the future, it's clear that mysticism will continue to evolve, adapting to the challenges and opportunities of a rapidly changing world. From virtual reality to artificial intelligence, new technologies offer fresh avenues for exploring the mysteries of existence. Yet, at their core, these explorations are driven by the same timeless human impulse to seek, to wonder, and to connect. The enduring appeal of mysticism lies in its ability to speak to the deepest parts of who we are, offering a sense of wonder and possibility that transcends time and culture. This ongoing dialogue between the ancient and the modern reminds us that the quest for understanding is never complete. It is a journey that spans generations, cultures, and mediums, constantly reinventing itself while staying true to its roots. And as we move forward, we'll see how this rich tradition of mysticism continues to inspire and transform, offering new ways to navigate the complexities of an ever-changing world. As we step into the 21st century, the ancient quest for spiritual connection is undergoing a transformation unlike anything we've seen before. In a world increasingly shaped by digital technology and virtual reality, mysticism is finding new forms of expression, ones that blur the line between the physical and the digital. From AI-driven meditation apps to immersive virtual rituals, the tools of the modern age are redefining how we explore the sacred. But what does this mean for the future of mysticism? Can technology deepen our spiritual experiences, or does it risk diluting the essence of ancient traditions? One of the most striking developments is the rise of online spiritual communities. Platforms like Zoom and Discord have become virtual sanctuaries, connecting seekers from across the globe in shared rituals, meditations, and discussions. These digital spaces offer a sense of belonging and accessibility that traditional, location-bound practices often can't match. For someone in a remote area or with limited mobility, this connectivity can be life-changing, opening doors to spiritual exploration that might otherwise remain closed. Yet, there's a question worth asking. Does the convenience of online spirituality come at the cost of the profound, embodied experiences that in-person rituals provide? At the same time, artificial intelligence is stepping into the realm of spiritual guidance. Apps like Calm and Headspace use AI to tailor meditation sessions to individual needs, offering personalized practices that adapt to your mood, stress levels, and goals. These tools make mindfulness more accessible than ever, helping millions incorporate meditation into their daily lives. But while AI can guide us through breathing exercises or suggest calming mantras, can it truly replicate the intuitive wisdom of a human mentor? The rise of AI-driven spirituality raises fascinating questions about the role of technology in our inner lives, questions that challenge us to rethink what it means to connect with the divine. Virtual reality, too, is entering the mystical arena. Imagine donning a VR headset and stepping into a digital temple where you can participate in a guided meditation surrounded by serene landscapes, or join a virtual pilgrimage to sacred sites around the world. These immersive experiences have the potential to make spiritual practices more engaging and accessible, particularly for younger generations steeped in digital culture. Yet, as we embrace these innovations, it's worth reflecting on what might be lost when the sacred is mediated through screens and algorithms. Despite these advancements, the core of mysticism remains unchanged, the human yearning to understand the mysteries of existence. Technology may offer new tools and platforms, but it cannot replace the timeless questions that drive us, questions about meaning, purpose, and our place in the universe. As we navigate this technological age, the challenge lies in balancing innovation with reverence, ensuring that the essence of mysticism isn't overshadowed by the allure of convenience. Looking to the future, it's clear that mysticism will continue to evolve, adapting to the needs and realities of each new generation. Whether through virtual rituals, AI-guided meditations, or entirely new forms of spiritual expression, the quest for connection and understanding will endure. And as we explore these uncharted territories, we're reminded of something profound, that the human spirit, in all its complexity and curiosity, remains the heart of every mystical journey. This ongoing evolution of mysticism invites us to reflect on our own relationship with the sacred. How can we harness the power of technology to deepen our spiritual lives without losing sight of the timeless wisdom that has guided humanity for millennia? The answer, perhaps, lies in our ability to remain open to both the possibilities of the future and the enduring truths of the past. And as we move forward, one thing is certain: the journey of mysticism is far from over. It is a living, breathing force, ever adapting to the changing tides of human experience, yet always rooted in the timeless quest for meaning and connection. As we come to the end of this journey through the astonishing origins of ritual mysticism, one thing becomes abundantly clear: these ancient practices are as diverse as they are interconnected. From the sacred cave paintings of our prehistoric ancestors to the digital meditations of the 21st century, humanity's quest for meaning has taken countless forms, each shaped by the unique challenges and aspirations of its time. Whether through the rhythmic chants of Vedic fire rituals, the trance-like dances of Sufi mystics, or the cosmic geometry of medieval cathedrals, these traditions reveal a shared desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. What's remarkable is how these practices have not only endured but evolved, weaving themselves into the fabric of human history. They've inspired art, shaped cultures, and even influenced the development of science and psychology. The mysticism of the past continues to echo in the present, reminding us that the search for meaning is a universal thread that binds us across time and space. From the shaman's drum to the AI-guided meditation app, the tools may change, but the essence remains the same: a longing to understand the mysteries of existence and our place within them. As we reflect on these 20 astonishing origins, it's worth asking, what mysteries will future generations uncover about our own rituals? In a world where technology and tradition increasingly intertwine, how will the spiritual practices of today be remembered centuries from now? Will they see our digital pilgrimages and virtual sanctuaries as profound innovations or fleeting curiosities? The answers to these questions are still unwritten, but one thing is certain: the human spirit will continue to seek, to wonder, and to create new ways of engaging with the sacred. To close, let's turn to the words of Carl Jung, who once said, Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. This timeless insight captures the essence of mysticism, an inward journey that transcends the boundaries of culture, time, and technology. If this exploration of ritual mysticism has sparked your curiosity, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What traditions resonate with you? How do you see these ancient practices influencing the future? Share your reflections in the comments below. I'm excited to continue this conversation with you. And if you're hungry for more deep dives into the mysteries of history, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Together, let's keep uncovering the secrets that shape our world and our understanding of the divine. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, stay curious.